Hey guys, we're going to be talking about career today and how to beat it if you haven't, and even if you have beat it and have been beating career, we're going to be talking about ways to optimize it and things like that, just so you're getting the most out of your training per turn and all that jazz. The biggest thing with career is that if you haven't won it yet, the actual winning, I feel like, of career is done before you even start the career itself. Right, you go in, you select who you're gonna do the career for. My suggestion, if you haven't won career yet, I mean, Bakshin's probably the easiest person to win on career, but anyone who is a sprinter or even mile is the easiest because they have the lowest stat requirements, and it's easy to stay ahead of, I don't know what to call it. I'm gonna call it the speed curve, but essentially there's a curve that you kind of just need to stay ahead of it if you want to keep winning races and stuff. That changes in longer distances because then you start needing stamina as well. But that's why I would suggest, if you haven't won yet, you should definitely start with a sprint or mile, because they pretty much are free in terms of stamina, because you just kind of have enough stamina to win all the races in career. This only applies to career because in career you have a bunch of bonus stats. I don't know what it is. The global reference doc says 400, but maybe it grows up to 400, or it's 400 divided among your stats or whatever, because there's no way at the start of your career you have 400 more speed than what is indicated on your sheet. Otherwise you'd blow out every race from the beginning, just easy peasy. You'd be like 600 speed above your opponents, and it's not that significant. But the point is, you have some sort of stat bonus, and it's very apparent in stamina. So just beware. Just because you can win some race in career on a character, if you put that character in the same race in like team trials or legends race or whatever, you might just die horribly because you run out of stamina, depending on how well you trained your character. Anyway, so you do Bakshin because she's like easiest in my opinion. And then this is where the winning and losing happens, literally on this screen. So when you're setting up your legacies for your runner, you'll want to get a guest who has a 9 spark something. In this case, for your, if you're trying to get your first win, then I'd recommend either power or stamina. So I have a bunch of people I've friended, and they all are 9-star something. This one's stamina, this one's stamina, this one's stamina, this one's stamina, this one's power, this one's stamina. I think this person's 8, but you get the idea. And they're split. Oh, it's 6-3, 6 speed, 3 stamina. You don't want necessarily speed sparks. Speed sparks aren't actually very good, which is maybe counterintuitive, because you think, well, I spend all this time training speed and I have a bunch of speed support cards, so clearly speed's good. Why would I not want a speed parent? Well, that the two things I pointed out, the fact that you have so many speed support cards and you're training speed all the time, is why you actually don't want speed inheritance. Because if you're just constantly training speed and have a bunch of speed support cards, you likely can get to 1200 speed without inheritance. And what you should be using your inheritance for is to fill gaps in your build. So for sprint, I said stamina, power, and then if you're high statted, so if you've got a good support deck and you're used to running sprinters and stuff, you can even run a wit inheritance, because eventually you'll come to a point where you're able to get 1200 speed and 1200 power, or maybe 900, 1200 power, somewhere in there, and you're able to hit your stamina requirement, in which case you then have extra stats. And guts is terrible. It's not terrible, but guts has limited use, especially in sprints. It's even less valuable. And then you're left with wit, so you take wit for skill activation and stuff like that. Wit has some other things it does as well. It makes you run faster down hills. It makes you run ever so slightly faster in the whole race. It's less than a 1% speed increase from wit, so it's the actual whole race speed increase is not even worth talking about. But yeah, so That's for sprinters. On the higher distances, like medium and long, you realistically aren't going to cap that much. You'll cap hopefully stamina on long. You don't need to cap stamina for medium, but for long, if you can cap stamina, that's good. And then speed would be second. And then you're probably not, if you manage to cap both speed and stamina, then you'd have points in wit and power and stuff like that, but you're not going to get a significant amount of points outside of capping two stats. The reason why in sprints you can cap speed and power is because when you train speed, you also get power. So you don't actually full train power, it's trained by itself from speed. Whereas speed and stamina, they don't share training in any way, so they're two completely independent stats. So if you're training both of these, then it's much harder to cap these two stats than it is to cap these two stats. All right, so now we're going to talk about how do you find these people to friend who have the 9-star characters for you to use. And for that, we'll use a website called UmaGlobalPureDB. If you don't want to use the website, you can use my trainer ID here. I don't have a 9-star, so just be aware of that. I only have an 8-star, but it's an 8-star power Rudolph. So if you want an 8-star power, you can use this, but I do not recommend you using my Uma. I do 100% recommend you go and use the website because it will find you 9-star, and then you can use other parts of the tool to even find better parents. Though likely in the beginning, you're not going to worry about this too much. You should just look for a 9-star because a lot of this stuff is probably going to be outside of, really knowing what you want. So let's say you want a 9-star stamina, right? So blue spark, right? Because stats are blue sparks. So you do stamina and we want 9-star. 9-star would be the parent has 3-star stamina and then both grandparents also have 3-star stamina. So we just set it like this and then hit search. I also changed these numbers to 50 instead of 10. It'll do a load and then it'll bring up all the people it found. So it does 10 per page. So now I have five pages of results I can look through. But you'll see stamina 9, and then it has whatever their pink sparks are. It has if they have their uniques. So those are there. And then any white stars on the parents and grandparents are all here as well. So you can see how powerful this tool is. If you know what you're looking for, you can find very strong Umas to act as your parents for borrowing and all that. But I recommend either, like I said, stamina or power for this. Just grab one. It's not super important yet, but like this one even has sprint 1, which is probably not going to do anything. But it's they have something. So just grab one of these, take their friend code. So in this one, copy paste this. Then you go back to the game, friends. I don't know why this runs so slow on PC. Following, ID search, and then you paste their ID in here. And here's the 9-star stamina. There you go. And then you can also look for support cards too. So like I could say I want a 9-star stamina and I want their support to be a MLB, Super Creek or Kita-san Black. There it is. Took me a second to remember her name. But yeah, so you can look up the Umamusume and the support card. So if you don't want to like have a bunch of extra friends on your friends list, you can find people who have both in one. But you're obviously less likely to find someone who has both if you're looking for very specific sparks on the parent. For this, we're just going to look, like I said, for something basic. I'm not going to follow that person because I already have stamina parents and it wasn't a very strict search or anything. All right, for me, for this Bakushin, I'm going to run double power. One of the things with power, at least training wise, right? If you're training power, it gives you stamina, and it's usually pretty good depending on which support cards you have. But this is 17 sparks for power. You can see I'm getting 63 and 54 at the start, and then you get it at the inheritance milestones, right? So you get a lot of extra stats just from having your inheritance worked out. So this is one of the big things for making sure you're actually like winning your careers, just having good parents. And part of this having good parents is like, so if I win this as Bakshin, right? And then Bakshin pulls a 3-star power at the end of career, then I'll actually have a 9-star power, because grandparents don't matter anymore, right? As you can see for these guys, it's the actual person and then their 2 parents. So Bakshin here, because Rudolph's 3-star and this Ogre is 3-star, and then Rudolph would be 3-star, then I would then have a 9-star power parent, which would be my first 9-star. So, well, I guess my first 9-star of 1 stat. So this is how you try to get 9-star of a particular stat. You can also just try to get 9-star mixed stat of like whatever. But that's an inheritance video, and we're not going to worry about that for this video. And then we have your support decks. For just winning your first career, I would say you should probably just run 4 speed, 2 power. Not necessarily these cards. My support cards are very, very bad. For picking support decks and stuff, we're going to use another different website. Both of the website links will be in the description. So you'll want to go into this calculator, I guess is the best way to call it. And you want to look for, you need to set these bonuses first off. So you go back to whatever you got going on your thing here. So we're going to go back and look at Bakshin. Oh god, I clicked too far. And here's her growth rate multipliers. Right, so 120%, 0, 0, 0, 110. So for this, what we'll do is, I already have it set here, but so 20% would make this a 1.2. These were all 0, and then this is a 1.10. It gives that example right here. Converted to decimal, so 10% is 1.1 and 50% is 1.15. So you fill these in, and what this does, this calculator does for you, is it essentially calculates. The best way to look at it is like turn efficiency. Calculates like how much stats you get from each one, etc., etc. If you look at the customized settings, there's a bunch of extra settings in here. Don't mess with these if you don't know what you're doing. Just leave it alone. Dev seems like, you know, he's on top of the global release and stuff. But yeah, so use this to find your cards that are best based on, again, what you have, right? Because I can't tell you, oh, you should run sweep, right? Because, you know, sweep is notoriously a very good speed SR. I personally don't even have a sweep. I got 0 sweeps while pulling, so I can't do that. I am hard pressed into the SRs that I have, so I use them. But you can see, it gives it like a numerical value based on the calculation, and then you can just pick the cards that have the highest rating for that stat. So it's on speed right now, which is this. So for me, I don't have a choice. I have to play the same cards, which is you, Flash, and I don't know that person's name. And then for your last 2 cards, I'd recommend Power if you're just starting. If you're like later into the game, you might run Wit here. But if you're just starting, if you're working on getting career wins and whatnot, just go with Power. And then you'll find whatever power cards you have, which are best. I actually have decent SR power cards, so I will take them. This one and then this one. This will end up being my deck. Now, the issue with this deck in particular, and it's not something I can fix easily, is that you want a total race bonus of 35 for URA. There's a big breakpoint at 35 for how many stats you get throughout the game. because the breakpoint's not actually 35, it's 34. I'm guessing it's 33.33, but the game doesn't let you have that much, so it's 34. There's a big breakpoint here. So if you don't have 35, it means your races are a lot less valuable. They give you less skill points, they give you less stats, etc., etc. This, again, sometimes it's not going to be in your control. You can actually click here and do race bonus, and then you can also see how many race bonus each card gives you. So you can use that to break like a... If I had more cards, maybe I could decide between some speed card for another one based on its race bonus, because I'm missing 5 race bonus. So getting that last bit of race bonus would help me a lot. I just need 5 more. Likely, your SR cards probably aren't going to give you race bonus, at least enough to that point. But like you can see, this card has 10. Whereas I'm guessing both... Actually, no. I know Amazon has 10 as well. But Bourbon only has 5. So if I could drop Bourbon and take... I don't know this girl's name, but take this one at max at MLB, then I would have the 35 that I need. And what did I really lose from that? Probably not that much in terms of actual power. Now, what this does not include is the skills that these cards give. So the deck that I run, I end up just getting a bunch of skills that are garbage for me, because, you know, all these cards give a whole bunch of different skills. Like, I think she gives end closer skills. I feel like Bourbon gives front runner or late or something. I don't know, something not great. So like, they're just a whole mix, and I end up just getting a bunch of random skills. So it's not great, but these are the support cards that I have, so I just deal with it. And you don't have to use this every time you're making a support deck, right? So ideally, you kind of use this to figure out what your best cards are, and then you can make a couple support decks based on like builds you might want. So 4 speed, 2 power is not bad. You could make a 4 speed, 2 wit. You could make a 3 speed, 3 stamina, or a 4 speed, 2 stamina, depending on what stamina cards you have and what race distance you're trying to run, etc. But you could make all your decks and then just save them into the deck thing here. Like, you can have saved decks, so you don't have to use the website every time. And then just remember what friend card you're supposed to be running with the particular deck. So I know this one's Kita-san Black because I don't have Kita-san Black in my deck. This one is Super Creep, even though my Kita-san Black is not good, etc. This is also supposed to be Super Creep. So yeah, and then you actually start your career, and then you'll go through your career, and when you're done, you know, assuming you did relatively good, you know, turn economy and all that stuff, you should be able to win pretty easily with a sprinter. That'll be it for this video of just like covering the setup of a career. The next video will be an actual career. I'll try to, you know, chop it up, condense it, edit it so that it's not 45 minutes long. But here's an example of a character that I built. I mean, you can see all the support cards and stuff. The Silent Suzuka, this is definitely my highest score character at 11,700. Her stamina is okay for... I run her as a medium, I guess I should also say. Her stamina is okay for a 2,000 meter. If she rushes, she needs her Maestro to proc. Otherwise, she's going to die. If she gets endurance debuffed, she has 2 other recoveries as well, but if she gets endurance debuffed, she'll also struggle. So she is very red line on stamina. A 900 stamina definitely would make this feel a lot more comfortable. And this is only for 2,000 meters. She's running a 2,400. She requires Maestro to proc, or she runs out of stamina. So her stamina is definitely red line. But yeah, I'm pretty sure her parents are both power. So when I made this character, I didn't have any stamina parents yet. But if she had even 1 stamina parent, her stat lineup would have been way better. But you get the idea. you can still make pretty good characters even with bad support cards, even with running the wrong legacy parents, etc., etc. It's all about just setting stuff up, and then yeah, the actual running of the actual career, which we'll handle next time. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.